A very, very warm welcome. Thank you for coming. For those who don't know, my name is Martin Hollis, I'm the Chair of the Trustees, and this is our 37th Annual General Meeting, which feels slightly strange because in 2 years' time it's the 50th anniversary of the creation of our predecessor. So we're coming up to 50th, so I'm not quite sure where those 11 other years went, but no doubt someone after this meeting will let me know. So, apologies for absence. We have a number. Just to read out: Chris Barry, Ron Crook, Max Crofts, Lawrence Davis, Johnny Graham, who's just had a foot operation, Malcolm Hitchinson, Liz Hollis, my wife, Oliver Mackey, Dave Maloney, John Pearce, Marion Pearce, Chris Toms, and Neil Rumble, two of our very original founder members, and Ray and Pam Cantor. We circulated previously the minutes in the AGM pack of the 2024 AGM. Does anyone have any comments, corrections? In which case, may I ask for someone... Oh, before I do, last year a very interesting question was raised as to whether we were obliged to have a formal vote for each, a ballot for various topics. But the answer to that is no, that a show of hands is sufficient unless two members require a formal ballot. If on any of the topics we're asked to vote, anyone requires a formal ballot, then we'll defer that item to a future date, post-meeting. We will hold that ballot, very likely online with the option of postal. So may I have someone to propose the 24? Thank you. And if you could just say your name.
Sue Cooper.
Sue Cooper, thank you. And to second?
Chloe Ford.
Chloe Ford, thank you. May I have a show of hands to approve? I think that is passed. It's lovely, the chair has power. The chair's decision is final, so the articles say. Before we go on to this, I would quite like to go round this table so you know who the hell we all are.
Good afternoon, Gavin Maxwell Hart, just joined about 6 months ago. I'm engineering director, or trying to be engineering director.
Hello, Justin Lewis. I've been around for 3 or 4 years now. I'm one of the trustees with a particular interest in strategy development.
Brian, for those who don't know me, yes, quiet for too long there. Trustee, and for the next few minutes, treasurer. Thank you.
Steve Bacon, trustee. I also chair the Royal Wootton Bassett branch, and I stand as the company secretary.
Afternoon, Mike Gilling, Chief Executive, been around for almost 2 years.
Ian Mitchell, I was the chair of the West Vale branch and I'm now interim funding director.
Paul Mumford, I've been around just over a year and I'm the development director.
Chris Coyle, I've been a member for that many years, recently asked to be finance director.
Yeah, Peter Thomas, I'm Chief Operating Officer, coming up to my 3rd year, so in young blood.
Peter.
Peter Scatchard, ladies and gentlemen.
Nothing to do with the ball.
Some of you may have seen that photograph. This actually wasn't taken, that photograph was taken not far from here. It was taken in Blueberry. I was playing the flugelhorn, and somehow that hand puppet started playing my instrument for me, which was enormous fun. So I'd like to walk you through a handful of points before handing over to Mike Gibbon, who will then ask some of the directors to cover some more detail about what's happening on operational level right across the trust. The first thing is that one can see, well, what can you see? Acorns. In many ways, the Wilts Berks is like an oak tree. We started off as acorns, and then, little by little, our oak tree is coming along. And before long, we might actually have a forest of activity right along our canal line. It's quite noticeable to me, the increase in energy, enthusiasm and activity, and a building for future to actually make a real difference and get some significant activities, significant wins going. I'd like to start off and build on that with a little roll call of thanks. Firstly to Richard Shackleton. Richard, where are you? There you are. And your team in the East Vale and Abingdon branch for putting this on and for arranging the walks around. I wasn't able to go on them, but I've had the good fortune of strolling and pacing some of the areas and seeing some of the locks previously.
I'd like to mention David Lynch. He's the real organiser.
Just thank you to David for organising all the work, the walks so well, much appreciated.
Bravo. To Patricia, where are you, Patricia?
She's through there.
She's hiding there. Nancy and Elaine, our three employees, who are a fabulous skeleton, so to speak. That's not the right word. That's not what I wrote here. But it's a framework, provide a framework and structure of getting things done, which is wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. To every volunteer, whether muddy boots or clean shoes, I love those phrases, and it's really quite visually evocative of what we do. You don't have to be a muddy boots person to make a real contribution to the Wilts Berks. To all our branch chairs and everyone who takes responsibility, we're volunteers. Why would one put oneself in the firing line for challenging, taxing responsibility? Well, it's because one can make a difference. And thank you for everyone who does that. And thank you also for the troops behind them, because one without the other, whichever it is, the whole thing implodes and collapses. Thanks to Mike, to the board of directors, the executive board, and the senior leadership team. Mike will talk more about this and the people involved later on. But the progress that Mike particularly, and the team spirit, if you like, that has been developing, of getting people really working and pulling together, consensual, sometimes with, we can't do that, it's a nice idea, but the focus is really starting to come right. Thank you to Marilyn. Marilyn, are you here? Marilyn True. All along in different spots of our 70 miles, we've got some fabulous signage. Interpretation boards is their posh name. In Marilyn's very personal, lovely, characterful style, hand-drawn. Well, Marilyn has retired. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. My hope is that we might be able to find a way of channeling AI to mimic her style, so that we can continue that lovely, those lovely signs forward. We'll see. To Chloe and the comms team, again, Chloe, you'll have a chance to tell us what's been going on, but we can tell you it's fabulous. So thank you. And overall, to everyone for dedication over this past year and before. I'm still quite a new boy within the Trust, and I'm constantly amazed and delighted at the energy that each individual person is putting in. If you haven't seen at the back, Gary and his History Hub displays photographs, animated AI, or historic photographs. Photograph of a lady with a child, a still taken from whenever it was 100 years ago. Now she's moved. Now she's walking across the lift bridge. It's fabulous, and that's not even scratching the surface. This speaks for itself. All of these organisations have made donations or grant funding over the last year. It's incredible. They change slightly year from year. It's not all consistent, but the breadth of what we've been bringing in to the Trust, and now Ian is leading that team, is amazing. It just shows that what we're doing, people actually value, really, in a very diverse way. Almost £300,000 of donations, grants and legacies were received in the last year. So that's quite stable. We'd love to get it to the millions.
Under pressure.
Mike will talk about this. Mike and others will talk about this later on. But we've now got, we've got 70 miles of canal line, 52 of our main line, and a further 18 of our branches. If we didn't focus at all, if we did kind of scatter, let's spend some time there, and then next week let's go over here, shall we? Then overall, we'd probably achieve very little. So over the next 5/25 years, there are 4 major capital strategic projects that we're focusing into. Melksham Link, connecting to the KNA, Pewsham Waterside. You'll see some photographs, I think, later, of their carpenter's workshop, dry dock, all kinds of wonderful things. Connecting Royal Wood and Bassett and Swindon, that would be brilliant. What a shame they built the ME4 in the way. There's a hope that National Highways, they have a legacy fund to assist with reinstating heritage projects that they've destroyed, well, they have in our case. They have a fund, it's heavily subscribed, but who knows? You know, we're talking with them, and it's called RIS. RIS 4, I think, is the next one, isn't it? Might be RIS 4, might be RIS 5, but we've got our stake in the ground. And then bringing boats back to Wantage.
Aha.
Aha!
Single-handed.
Peter Scatchard came up with that catchy name, which is absolutely right. Bringing boats back from the River Thames to Wantage. Oh, and the towpath challenge, umbrella on top of that. If we can create a 52 or 70 mile connected cycleway, footpath, active travel, right across our territory, right beside where the canal will in the future be restored, then the public will start to say, oh, we didn't realise this was a canal. Can it be restored? Ooh, I'd quite like that to happen. I'd support that. And so little by little, we can get into the minds of the hundreds of thousands of people locally, because the simple fact of the matter is that at the moment, very few people know that the Wilts Berks Canal exists. Actually, we know, but go out in the street, I'd be surprised if it's more than 3 or 5%. And so creating a wonderful connected off-road, safe walkway, cycleway is one way of getting it into their minds that we exist and what we can bring to them. We have a growing amount of, we're calling advocacy activity. All, is it 8 MPs along our canal line? They all support our canal. All councils, Wiltshire Council, Oxfordshire Council, Oxfordshire County Council, Vale White Horse, and South Oxfordshire. The local parish councils. There's growing support. We're kind of pushing it at an open door on one level, but the simple point is we are pushing. The door's opening, and we're now talking about what are the benefits that we're bringing. The slide I just skipped over and is focusing away from we're restoring a canal into we're bringing leisure, exercise, well-being benefit. We're bringing economic, we're bringing millions of pounds of additional new money into your local economies. We're bringing nature and biodiversity. We're bringing flood reduction, flood alleviation. That wonderful phrase, SUDS, Sustainable Drainage Scheme for every housing development. Well, we have a SUDS. It's called a long linear SUDS, a canal. And so increasingly developers and councils are realising that when our canal is developed, restored, then we can help flood alleviation. 2 slides I think I've got before I hand over to Mike. As the trust grows, we have a growing, as this shows, a growing range of volunteer opportunities. Now, most of us here already do volunteer, which is fabulous, and thank you again. If you have a neighbour, if you have a friend, some of us do, some of us don't, have a colleague, just talk with them about, on here there are all kinds, again, dirty boots, clean shoes, all kinds of opportunities. If anybody has a skill, I bet we could use it, whatever it is. So just think about it. If there's someone you think might be open to volunteering with the trust, even for half a day a week, something like that, fabulous. They will be most welcome. in 2027, 2 years' time, we've got our 50th birthday. And the plan is to have all kinds, nothing's fixed yet, all kinds of celebratory events, both at an umbrella level across the trust, but also in each local branch area. So those are a few of the ideas that are floating around at the moment. And if anyone would like to join a small team to pull this together and make it happen, we're already starting the active planning. We are hoping that Her Majesty the Queen will join us for at least one of the events, which coincides with her 80th birthday in 2027. So that will be nice if that can be achieved. But we think there'll be something like 2 or 3 months, if not the whole year, of celebrations going on. That will be another chance to let people know that we exist and enjoy some of the things we've got going. Last, stable finances. Brian will talk to us about those a little later on. Well-run and increasingly well-focused. Support, not only from the political world, but from grassroots local populations, which is lovely to see. I don't enjoy selling, but I enjoy communicating something that I know is going to be of interest. When I start sharing the fact that we can create a new footpath or cycleway, easy to get to, away from cars, that children on their bikes or whatever can go on. People say, really? Oh, I'd like some of that. And so for me, that kind of appeal that we bring is brilliant. I don't want to downplay in any way. I don't think people will accuse me of ever having downplayed the tragic death of Peter Conitzer back in 2016, 9 years ago. But at long last, we have now gone through the HSE prosecution. We have gone through a very thorough inquest process. We have now been told that is the end of it. There is no further proceedings. For the 3rd time we've been told that. And now we are in a strong position to move forward. And for me, it is such a relief, and I know for many others, it's such a relief that we can put that phase behind us, not in downplaying it. Lessons have been learned, and Mike and Peter will particularly talk about that. And the safety angle, which is in a very good position. But the Trust now has a very positive future. Thank you.
Just a comment. Thanks for all your hard work, Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think we ought to be thanking Martin as well for a great amount of work. Martin sat through all of that, and very difficult to listen to, and also supported us as we put all the processes and procedures in and made sure we covered our risks. So, thank you very much, Martin. Okay, so I've still got the old car if anybody fancies it.
Start busy.
The start. Okay, so I'm not sure who was here or at the AGM last year. We talked a lot about what we were going to try and do, the organisation and strengthening ourselves up. Looking forward to a strategy and also community benefit. I'm going to talk through some of those things, and also my colleagues are also going to do Just on the organisational side of things, we did a little poll just recently to see how much experience is sitting in the leadership on the exec board team. That's the numbers up there. Lots of people with lots of very important experience that we need, and it has come to bear already. That number up there, 300 years, says two things. The second one is that there's lots of experience. So that was a little joke actually. Nobody laughed at that. The first one is that the second one is that there's some really important construction experience, for example, that Ron has with working with councils, and many experiences like that which help us get our strategies together. So it's great to be working with all. Peter's going to be talking, and Ian, not Ian, Gavin's going to be talking, Chloe's going to be talking, just helping me out on some of this stuff. Straight away, Peter.
Hi. I don't know, you may have recalled, I think it's 2 years ago, we did a road trip and we went around all the branches and we put down a statement of what we were going to try to achieve over the coming period. And I just wanted to remind what we've said we would try to do and what we've done so far, because with the support of the volunteers, I think it's quite rewarding what we've done so far. We've made great strides over the past few years with additional safety procedures. Our safety should continue to be elevated within the trust, which it is, which is very good. The aims we set ourselves are long term to have a qualified safety officer at each branch. That's one as yet we've not achieved. I think we've only got one branch that's got a safety officer, and that's MCC, is that correct? Yeah. So we've got to still somehow get that over the line. Short term, we've nominated person at each branch to support trust available qualified volunteers. In part, that's ongoing. We have resources available. If people need information, they can come to us. Even myself, I'm there. The big one, all WAPOs shall have a base level qualification managing safety. All now have SSTS qualification, which is very good. It's also, the WAPOs have gone out on their own and actually made the effort to get that qualification with our support, which is good, and a long way that lasts.
Excuse me, listeners don't know what the initials stand for, would you?
Okay, I'll just say that now. It's a supervisor safety training scheme.
What's a WAPO?
Work party organiser. Thank you. Right. Yeah, so that's what that means, yeah. Okay, the other one we had was ensure all work parties had at least one trained first aider with current certification. Complete. We have numerous first aiders now at various branches, which is excellent. Identify safety training. Again, if people need training now, we go out of our way, there's courses put on, and the emphasis is now, we want to make sure that any volunteer who's using any piece of equipment has the appropriate training to ensure they can use that equipment in a safe manner. And it's not just his safety, it's the other people around him that's working. They have to be seen to be safe. And the other one was continue with the safety monthly statistics. That moves me on to my next slide. We introduced this, it's coming up 2 years now, so it was in March 2023 that I started asking the branches to supply me with numbers. And diligently they've been very proactive, and that information has been coming available to us. And what we're not OTT with it, but I do push a little bit sometimes to make sure the numbers come in. But what we're seeing is a great trend now with safety inductions, the training, the toolbox talks, safety meetings, and also it's good to see that the number of little near misses and things have come down. And I think it's a good, how can I say, it's a positive statement for all the people now that work on our sites, the muddy boot teams, that how seriously they're taking this. And it's for myself very gratifying, and long may it last. Thank you very much. The last one Well, I could labour on safety forever, but I won't. I think everyone knows the importance of it. There's another little side here that everyone's aware of. Oh, no. Is everyone aware of the Peterborough Arms? Yeah? Okay. Well, we had big problems with the Peterborough Arms with flooding running off the main road. And because of the diligent work of our workers that are doing maintaining that, we've actually stopped that now. But it couldn't have happened without the support. We did a request for funds, and we had, I think it's, is it 15,000? 12,000 donated. And that money's helped us to alleviate the problem. So now we have a pub that's under new management that doesn't flood anymore. So that's great. The other thing that's interesting, we're negotiating at the moment with a company called G4. They're in there at the moment under a tenant at will, month-on-month contract, and I'm hoping, where are we now, Thursday, to go and see them, to see if we can finalise a lease for 5 years, which gives us a bit more surety on income and the future development of the trust property, which is Peterborough Arms. And the other one is we're hoping that I've been told they're going to give us a permit such that we can access the canal by the side of the pub, because it's been sat there, it was in water, it's now in weed, so somehow we've got to get back in there and bring it back to what we want to see. So that will also give value back to Peterborough Arms. I think that's it for me, short and sweet.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
And also for leadership on the safety side and on operationally a really important guiding hand. So the operational side it's huge. I mean, it's absolutely vast. And last year we did a bit of a survey of what are the benefits that we already bring to our communities, and I talked about it a little bit. This is just the update of that. We went around all the branches, the estimated number of people walking down towpaths and things like that. And the total number of people or uses that the towpath has is over 300,000 a year, which is an incredible number. So Swindon has a good proportion of that, because a lot of the towpaths get used by kids going to school and lots and lots of walkers. But all the way along, we can see, even in perhaps a semi-rural location like this, you get people using the towpath. I think the numbers around this branch was something like 30,000 a year. So that's an incredible number, and it just shows us what benefit we bring to people who want to walk it outside and see nature. All our boats, 3,800 trips per year, which is again a big number and very important from a revenue perspective for us. And in total, our volunteers do about 40,000 hours, over 40,000 hours a year, and that really is a great number. And our aim, as Peter has said, is to provide that enjoyable and safe environment for our volunteers to work and enjoy working together. And in a recent poll that we did of volunteers and members, it showed that was the real reason why people want to come and meet, is to get some benefit, meet people, work with people. It's a great thing to see. We do have some challenges. There is no doubt there is quite a lot that we have to do. And things like, as you will have heard in the press over this summer, reduced water levels and increased levels of silt. When obviously the water levels reduce, you see the silt coming up, and then with that weeds, the rushes and all that sort of thing. So we do have a lot of work to do to try and work our way through that. There is equipment that you can get which will really help with that side of things. Expensive, and also you have to have licenses from the EA, and you have to have right ways of getting rid of the silt. But we need to work through that, because it's a great shame when we put so much effort into a particular canal and then over a period of time it can weed up and then become unusable. So our aim is to do something about that. Ali, who just came in just a second ago, is our new IT systems director. taking over from an amazing job done by Martin Stubbs over the years, and now with the team behind to have a look at the security of our systems. You hear a lot about problems with bugs that get into systems and then ransomware and all that sort of stuff, and we need to make sure that our archives, and we have a lot of archive work done by the History Club and all the branches, is retained. We don't have a problem with that, because that would be a massive issue to us if that was ever damaged. And then also, I think you probably will have seen that we've had some break-ins into our sites a couple of times in Swindon, down on the boat at Bassett as well. So we need to carry on putting security in there. We've had some small fundraising activities, and thank you to those who have donated for that, because that's really helped us strengthen that security up. So those are some of the things we have to challenge operationally. Comms has been really, really important to this year, so I wanted to just get Chloe to describe where we got to with comms.
Thank you, everyone. So, one of the things we want to focus on with comms is you guys. It's all the supporters, and how can we shout about what you're doing out into the world, and also giving you the tools to shout about what you're doing. So to do that, we sort of unified on our look. So there's a great team that have been pulling together to give us a new style sort of branding so that we can look at, but also giving us all sort of media that you can sort of have to hand. So the Dragonfly magazine, the leaflets, new websites and so on. I recently had a lady come up to me who was on the towpath, and she goes, "I want to know what you're doing." And I said, "All right, well, I can tell you. What specifically do you want to know?" She said, "I want to know where to find you." I said, "Well, do you go on Facebook?" "No." "Do you do emails?" "No." "Do you read like one of the newspapers?" She was in Swindon. I said, "Swindon Afters?" "No." Okay, this is it's getting a bit confusing. You don't do any kind of electronics? "No." "Well, you must have seen us on TV this year. You've been on TV a lot." "No." "Have you got 2 minutes to come for a walk?" "I'll do that," she said. I said, "Come this way. There's our new sign. That'll tell you where we are, what we're about, but mainly you're here on the towpath." I said, "So you're seeing what our volunteers are doing." I said, "It's not an overgrown ditch, it's restored, and you can see on this map where we're going to restore. So what you're looking at is what we're aiming at for the whole way." And I said, "But you are a challenge." Luckily, that don't happen very often. So, how many of you use Facebook? Yeah. So it's about half, which is what I expected. So, obviously, with this AGM, we're looking at the last financial year. And when I first started comms, we had about 4,000 followers. It sounds a lot. A lot of them were inactive, it's probably dormant accounts. Up to April this year, we got that up to 8,500 followers. So we've almost doubled the people who follow us on Facebook. And what that means in premise is they're active supporters. They want to know what you guys are doing, and they want to see pictures of it. They want to see a whole range. So they want to see that from the history, all the work the History Club are doing, right through to dirty boots, right through to sort of things we're having conflicting. So I'll come to the next slide in a minute and go back to that bit. But we're averaging an increase of sort of 100 followers a week. So you put that into perspective, there's probably 100 of us here. There's 100 people each week who want to know what you guys are up to. I think that's amazing. We've got Instagram and Twitter steadily growing. We're one of the first canal trusts to go onto Blue Sky. If you've heard of Blue Sky, it's like the opposition to Twitter. Thanks to our ambassador here, Stephen Court, who helped us set up Blue Sky. It's getting that message out there to different people. We've also joined onto LinkedIn now. So these are all online social platforms, but they do have a lot of followers. YouTube's one of the biggest ones. We've still got a lot of work to do on YouTube, but it's a really, really good platform that gives sort of visual aid. So you don't just look at photos, you'll almost be in there and following it. The amazing work you're doing. We need to do a lot more of that going forward, but what we have done in the last sort of year or so is massive increase in presence on that. And what does that equate to? 300,000 hours of viewing just on YouTube alone. So that's a lot of hours of people sitting there watching what you guys are up to. And I just think 300,000 is a phenomenal figure of people watching, but we could do a lot better than that, can't we? We can get that right up. So so when we'll stand here in a year's time, we want a higher figure, because you guys are amazing. So let's keep that up. Should go to the next slide. Yeah. One of the things I'll touch on before I go to that one is thank you to Chris Churchhouse. This way. a lot of hours behind the scenes. Mike just recently mentioned Martin Stubbs. Martin Stubbs did an amazing job of keeping our website going, and all behind the scenes, all the servers and all the information that we had to store, and he held that all together. But we're in 2025, systems are changing, and we need to move forward, especially, we've got a wonderful set of boat teams. Brian's here with Dragonfly, and people have been saying to us for years, I just want to book and pay online and that sort of thing. So we've got a brand spanking new website. You can see what all the branches are doing. The branches can update information, as quick as they can. But also people can log on, choose a boat, choose when the boat trips are having to go, and pay for it there and then. I just think that is an amazing step forward, bringing us right into the sort of 21st century. And that's going to improve with visitor centre volunteers, and we're going to start doing that with events like upcoming quiz nights and other events that go forward. We'll start integrating that into our website. So a huge thank you to Chris for helping bring us into the 21st century with our website. One of the other things I wanted to do was embarrass Chris Barry, but I can't do it because he's not here. So I embarrassed myself instead. We've had a much stronger presence in the main media, so newspapers, television and radio. And it stems from the earlier post, it stems from them reading our literature, it stems from them following us on social media. Then they reach out to us and say, right, we mentioned we've had a break in, that's a negative, but let's turn it into a positive, because they straight away wanted to know about us. How were we affected? What can we do to help? Can we do a fundraiser? Can we advertise that fundraiser? So straight away the media are sharing the story, but in a positive way. And also there, we had the sinkhole in Swindon. I know when Swindon is kind of the centre of the canal, it decided if we have a big black hole in the middle and suck us all in. No, that's not what really happened. We had a sinkhole, so the media are all over that. What's it about? But they didn't just want to know why was the sinkhole. They wanted to know about what's the restoration, how far have you got, how much can you sort of say up and down and stuff. And the amount of people, I mean, Mike himself, the amount of people that came up to us after, the television and said, "Oh, we saw you on TV. That's great, but did you know what it was about? Did you know what the volunteers and the trust are doing?" So as long as we get that out there, that's where we're at with comms, getting that story out. And I think in the last year, as a whole team, and with all of you as well, I think we've all been doing an amazing job as one big resource. So, social media are our campaigns. The Oasis was a really interesting one. I'll touch on it extremely lightly. Yes, the canal is potentially protected, but the Oasis is a complicated site because the canal line has a large 3-metre sewer in it, and we don't want to be sailing into that. we'd like to leave that there and have that as a towpath. So the canal needs to be restored next to the existing towpath. So we slightly into developers' land. They know that, they know the local authority wants the canal restored, but it wasn't going smoothly. By using social media, we got the public informed of what we were trying to achieve, and that public came forward. I didn't choose to put that picture in today, but there is a picture we used where about 50 people turned up to support us on a day, just to sort of protest and show the developer that we're not just the members making noise, the actual public backed us and supported us. And it was a fantastic day. But what that day did was it made headline news. You know, they suddenly like, what's this about then? Well, you know, they're pretty serious. This isn't a group of 6 people in a shed. This is quite a serious organisation here who are doing strides in accomplishing great work. We made front page picture of a newspaper, and I think that's amazing. And I don't know if John Henn's here somewhere. Here he is. John Henn incorporated a picture of a future vision of what the canal could do, what you know, bringing somewhere back into life, into use. And we ran with that because we thought it was quite fun, but also true as to what we could do. But the papers loved it. The papers ran with it because they could see the potential. They didn't see it as it's something fun. They seen it as, yeah, you guys are really onto something. So we've got the backing. And since that campaign, they've pretty much supported us on most things that we've gone to do. Recently we had the A420 McDonald's and Starbucks. That was a planning that was going to be built on the historic line, but we wanted to preserve the historic line as a cycle, because we work in association with the local authority. And this developer came along and said, well, we're just going to build on that, you're not doing anything with it. The really interesting thing is, we objected, and the councillors stood up, not only to the A420 objection, the planning there, but also to the ACES. Councillors in the room, all objecting because they want to see the vision of the canal done. And I think if we were stood here 10 years ago, some of the former members would say to us, no, we didn't have that sort of backing from councillors and MPs and that before. Now we've got a room full of people voting because they want to preserve the route. And I think, as a group of us all sharing that cause, they're listening, and that's why it's been saved. And CESRO, it's going to be words I can't say, strategic reservoir, I'll say, local to here. Now we've done several bits of this on social media, and in 2 cases, one when we were fighting to say we needed to be included in the CESRO plan. Again, the locals got together and listened to what we were saying and signed a petition. 3,800 people signing a petition to say, what they're doing is good, we'll add our name to that. And then more recently listening to us saying, well, we've made some ground, but now this is how we could be included. This is how we can benefit that area, that project, you know, how much of the benefit we can be. And that's the singing the song really, the benefit of how much we can be via comms. And still loads of work to do. I think in the last few years we've made massive progress. And thanks to all of you.
What an amazing job that the comms team does in the space of a couple of years. I've been observing it sort of almost doubled our Facebook numbers. Incredible. So I'm just going to talk now about the strategic side, and Gavin's going to help me. So Martin eloquently introduced the subject of what are our major programmes and what are we going to be focusing on, and just going to talk through the main form Elcham link, the Pushing water side, connecting Bassett with Swindon, and boats back to Wantage. We go through in that order. And what you'll see on each of these is our vision for 2050. Why 2050? Just sounded good. but it gives us enough space to be able to do something substantial without necessarily scaring the politicians. So you can talk about, if you want to do something now, you want to load £1 million. We all know what council finances are. It's difficult, we know that, but we have to start somewhere, we have to start slowly. So the purpose of creating a vision is to try and get the councils, the MPs, around the development of the canal in certain stages. We try to make it realistic. I mean, we never know what's going to happen. We don't know 100% what's going to happen with Cesro. We don't know what's going to happen with the M4. We have to start somewhere in order to try and get the decision makers to back us. Once the decision makers back us, as you see in other canal trusts, then the funding comes much easier. Without the push from the decision makers, that funding is almost impossible to get hold of. So in order to be able to create the vision, we, with the directors, the senior leadership team, the branches and trustees, we held some workshops to discuss what do we think is practical to get through over the next 25 years. And when we then wrote that down, we said, what are we aiming for over the next 5 years? So this is the slide for Melksham Link, which relates to the vision. You've all seen that before, that's been around for a long time because of the planning application. Then after that we started to think about what would we like to do over the next 5 years. So each of these strategy sheets has 2 pages. So this one is the Melksham Link. Unfortunately, Paul Lennox, our project manager, isn't able to be with us today to explain it, but Paul has been, he's an absolute saint. He's pushed this for the last, I don't know how many years, but it's incredible the hundreds and hundreds of letters he writes, the meetings that he has trying to take the planning application forward. The issue has been the EA in the majority of that, the Environment Agency. So the Environment Agency have repeatedly objected to the Melksham Link proposal, worried about the disruption to the river, potential dredging, the disruption to biodiversity, and then not seeing enough of the detail. Over the last couple of years we've had a consulting company called Binnies do a further set of results which gives us the biodiversity net gain, which is the measurement of biodiversity, to try and get to 10%. We now have a plan which was published this year which gives us the 10%. There are still 2 or 3 items that the EA wish us to clarify, and they have asked for a meeting in order to try and get those final ones sorted out, which is they asked for that meeting. So that's the first time I've heard of that. That they've actually asked proactively that they meet with us in order to get this thing pushed forward. And I think that's down to the hard work of Paul and the committee that work on that, and also the sort of background appeal to Melksham. The benefits which are on there, if you can see them, there are huge benefits economically to the town of Melksham. And I think to pass that by is really not doing any favours to the communities in Melksham and Berysfield. So that information there is we hopefully are going to see some substantial progress on that over the next few months. I wouldn't bet on it because we're talking about government organisations and politicians, but it's really important to have them on our side and get through these last stages. So, assuming that we're going to get that, this line is the benefits. The benefits are in the multi-million on the economy. Benefits to the local community, provides 5 kilometres of navigable waterway, and you increase the volunteering, all those sorts of things. So those benefits I think we know about. The 5-year plan, the workshop, we couldn't quite get past the issue of the planning application. So our initial idea, and it needs to have more about it on Melksham Link, is to start with the hydroelectric station, because that is the one which gives us immediate benefit to the town of Melksham, and then next to that has to be the lock, but it all depends on us getting the licence for the dredging part of it. So our initial steps might be that, but then after that, we have to start finding a way of linking into the Kennet and Avon right on the south in order to perhaps get a marina right next to the Kennet and Avon, which is part of the plan, and then agreeing with the landowner. So our initial steps would probably be around the hydroelectric station. Beauty Waterside, that's chaired by Ron Cook, our Deputy CEO. Apologies from him not able to get here today. Is all about building on the amazing work at Pewsham. And you will all have seen on social media and in Dragonfly the great progress that's been made. Howard's crew and all the work party organisers and volunteers there. It's a phenomenal enterprise. Whenever you walk past there, the speed at which it's going up is incredible. And now we see that the dry dock is now complete, and we had Dave Maloney in the Gazette and Herald showing the tiles. I hope you all got your name on the tiles and you get your 10 quid in there, raise the money for the roof. That's all it's going well. The outside of the Carpenter's workshop is pretty much complete. We're now trying to fundraise and get that completed on the inside. The accommodation bridge over Top Lock, that is somewhere near. How much is it?
4 weeks time.
4 weeks.
Approximately to finish.
And the skill in the bricklayers and the work down there is incredible to see. So going on at a pace, a huge pace. So a discussion in our workshop and in our plan is what do we think we want to get completed at Pewsham. So the proposal is to get all of those over the next 25 years, to get all of the other construction things done. There's a lockkeeper's cottage there, there's a line kit, a sawmill. Get that all done. The 2 pounds need to be complete and the 3 locks. So that's the Pewsham bit. But on top of that, in order to really make it usable for the local community, we'd like to have a visitor centre. To have a visitor centre and lots of people coming in, we need a road around the back. We need some services, because at the moment it's not connected. We need to make sure that it's all secure and we have the long leases in place. So that is for the Pewsham site itself. South of the stretch of water, so past Double Bridge down to Rainmill Lane, we'd like to get that into water. And then north or northeast of the Pewsham site, hopefully get across the A4. But at least we'd like to get the towpath connected up to, I always forget the name of the lane at the top, Studley Hill Lane, all the way up there. We have a lot of work to do on some of the culverts and bridges as we go up that direction. So that would give us a significant amount of additional water. We need to make sure that's all usable and dredgeable and all the other things I was talking about before. So that's our basic vision. If you are a local today, you may know that there is a development going on next to the A4, next to the canal. That might give us the opportunity to get the utilities and get the road in order to be able to get that sorted out. So it's very important that local plan and the importance of that particular development for the Pewsham site. We've already made contact with the developer who's putting the applications together to see whether we can jump onto the back of that. So that's a really important development for us. The 5-year plan. I feel like you ought to be doing this from me.
You're doing it great.
Is it okay? Okay, so the things we want to try and do, we've got agreements with 3 landowners to make. Nash Hill, which is south of Pewsham. As you know, Howard Yardy, who's the leader there looking after those 10 acres. Tree planting walkways, the towpath adjustments for the new hedging, species counting, control invasive species. And I think that what he told me he's trying to create is what's called a woodland meadow. So it's a very, very diverse habitat full of lots of different types of wildlife. We know already on the Avon we've had otters, not about beavers, but otters, otters and beavers. There's control of invasive species like mink we have to do down in that area. So that's all coming on really, really well. And a very large group of people interested in that, with additional walkways through that 10 acres will give people access to those habitats so they can see and see wonderful wildlife there. Then northeast of, so the Pewsham itself, completely Carpenter's Workshop. I've talked about this a lot of this work. We've already started the fundraising for Bottom Lock. That's a volunteer-related activity rather than a contractor job. So some fundraising on that, application for utilities, application for work on the access road, partnering with Forest Farm Development. So those are very important, as I've mentioned before. Then northeast of Pewsham, the bridge and towpath surveys up there, and Pullybrook Culvert. So in the next 5 years, that's all. Yeah, is that about right?
That's about right.
Okay, got that. We'll see. But that's a massive amount of work we're going to try and plan. We can only do that if we have more people who are interested in helping us organise. So we've now set up a steering group for Pewsham Waterside in order to tackle some of those upfront things, so the enabling parts, the planning applications, stuff like that. That's all really important. So if you know of people who are interested in working with town councils, parish councils, then that's really important. Our steering group actually does now include members of the parish council. Of course, the parish councillors are really important because they are then able to influence the decision makers. They're then able to help us if we need planning applications. So we've decided to bring in councillors into our steering teams in order to help us and understand the practicalities we've got to get over. So that's an important thing. And this particular committee has started really well. Moving up a little bit, we can talk about us in Swindon. So our theme for this is connecting it. And once we've connected it, I think it gives us about 6 miles of navigable waterway. And over the 25 years, obviously the scale of the M4 crossing is significant. So the team will be looking at getting that revitalised, as Martin has already described, and working further with, I think it's called National Highways now. It's changed its name, but working with the authorities on the M4 crossing. And the big number associated with Swindon is a £16 million economic boost. Now I'm a Swindonian, and I never go in there because it just needs a focal point. It just does not have that character in the centre anymore, in my opinion. And I think there's so much more that can be done with Swindon, and we think the regeneration element would really give it a boost. I think the issue with Swindon Borough, though, is they're very, very cash strapped, and I think they are struggling to see how that would be paid for. But that's, as I mentioned before, it's a step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? You get them to agree a vision first, I think is what we're trying to do. So I've met a number of times with Jim Robbins. He's behind, and Heidi Alexander and some of the other councillors. So they're behind it, but they can't get past the issue of finance and how that's raised. How we tackle that one needs to be part of a joint discussion with them at a future date. Getting them to back it first publicly is a very important thing. So that's our aim first. So that's the 25-year vision. We're trying to get down to 10%. Anybody who knows that area knows there's a council depot at the bottom where currently Nonsuch is moored up. And just past there there's a council depot. We'd like to be able to get hold of that council depot, get the canal round onto its path there and access to it. That council depot was owned by Wilts Council, so hopefully we can get that agreed with them. And then, as you know, north of the M4, we're still trying to get the blockade sorted out in Swindon, but the development of the Witchelstowe branch is coming along. Steve's done a lot of photographing up there, and it's looking great. Whenever you see it, what we do need to do is get a slipway down there so we can get more boats in there and also service Dragonfly. We need to be able to get that in water and looking really good. That will generate more value for the housing in Witchelstowe, which helps the county council. Okay. So some of those things over the next 5 years we want to do the pre-planning application for our vision. So perhaps we want to put a planning application which says this is what we're going to try and do and get that through and discussed. The water supply is always an issue in and around the canal. We need to do a study on that. Present to the MPs, you can see decision makers, start the dialogue with the landowners, sort out the question of dredging. And in Swindon, find a place where we can take Dragonfly out. Very unfortunately, where we took it out last time, Swindon Borough have got to put the services in the bridge. The bridge will no longer take the weight, so we have to find a different place to lift it, or construct a slipway. And all those various other things you can see down there, I need to read them out all out, but there's quite a lot of town centre studies we need to do, and quite a lot of work on the options in and around M419. M4, obviously that needs to be progressed, and then Wootton Bassett complete the bridge design at Chadington Lane, stabilise the banks at the Biffa site, which has been an ongoing problem for quite a while, and get the planning agreement for that Templars Firs site. So those are sort of actions that we've got. Not quite a lot of those enabling activities, not necessarily moving forward with construction, but we get the planning and the design work done first. Thank you. Gavin joined us 8 months ago. He's an absolutely tremendous guy. He's helping chair the work here in bring boats back to Wantage. So I thought I'd introduce Gavin to you and then let him talk through where we got to.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon again. You probably can't read that from where you are. But the first thing I'm just going to say is that, as Martin and Mike have both said, these are the 4 key projects we're talking about for 2050. And I'm the director who's been asked to help on the Bring Boats Back to Wantage. But the first thing I have to say is, I'm there to help that branch. And the branch has got some very good people in it. Richard, who runs it, Peter Scatchard, who does all the communication with all the local people, Nigel Lee, who's the best engineer I've ever met. They've brought the whole thing along to bring boats back to Wantage forward. They've done a lot of communication, they've done a lot of hard work on it. So I'm only sitting there and having to give this talk, but they do all the hard work. What that's saying basically is, and I think this is, that what we've got to do is with Cesro, whether it's going to go ahead or not, the big reservoir that's going to be put there or not put there, we want to bring boats back to Wantage. We want to do it regardless. We want to do it whether the reservoir isn't going to go ahead or whether it is going to go ahead. So where we're sitting with the reservoir is that we're neutral. We can't say, we can see strategically it might be needed, but do you put a reservoir in somebody's land and you pump all the water 100 miles away to the supply people there rather than the local people? So we're neutral. But what we must do is, and what those 3, you can't really see them, circles do, is say what the benefits are of bringing boats back to Wantage. It's about 10 kilometres, and you probably can't see it, but it says annually 28.9 million of the benefits from putting this canal back. And out of those, and I have to go and have a look, so I always forget, there's if you take the middle one, the NHS savings, 6.1 million. If you take the economy side, it's 8.1 million. And on health and well-being, it's 15 million. So there's a huge advantage for local people, for everybody to bring boats back to Wantage. And that's the key thing. Now, what I'll say now is, because I was just reminded, that what's happening is that Cesro, and it is South East Strategic Reservoir Option, it's their reservoir, it's going to end up going through DCO. So DCO is a Development Consent Order, which I don't know the full details of, but it skips around all the local authorities, in essence, and goes straight to the Secretary of State to decide whether it's going to go ahead or not. So basically it's out of our hands. But what we must do is make sure we get into it all the benefits about the canal being put back there. What's going to happen on the 28th of October is quite important, because the statutory consultation document is released. And what we must all do, everybody you know, get them to reply to it. And the best way to say is either get these slides, we saw a slide earlier about the overall benefits of the canal, or this one which shows the local benefits. We really need to stress that those are the advantages of CESRO helping us put the canal back there. So that's that. What we do is we go on to the next slide. Because of CESRO, our 5-year plan is let me go back one other thing actually, just on the branch again, Eastvale and Abingdon. The project itself is there as the project for 2050. The branch carries on as normal. So the branch, all the volunteers are there, keeping the branch ticking over, doing all the things they have done over the years. This project sits on top of it, which is, and it goes, as you can see, you probably can't really see that map either, but as we've heard already, it goes from the River Thames at Abingdon through to the A34, round the potential reservoir, and then across the railway line, or underneath the railway line, and it comes in this direction to Wantage, and that's where it goes to. The key thing is from GWR to Wantage, is about the only programme that we can action, which Nigel's done a lot of work on. It's the one that we can action in the next 5 years for definite. And you probably can't read that, and it is a bit difficult to see. But clearance of the canal and the asset surveys next year and the year after, and then it is the start of the restoration of the canal, the Grove locks, from there from 27 to 30. So that's a plan for the next 5 years. The other stages of CESRO and the A34 to the River Thames are all waiting for CESRO. They're waiting for DCO. Now the DCO submission is autumn next year, and I might be wrong, but I think the DCO's decision is the end of the following year. So it's a long time to wait. But what we must do is that we must all push hard to make sure we really know what the benefits are for the canal, and we push it, we get to the point. Like we talked already about communication, we must get local people to understand what we want to do and why we want to do it. We were walking up, there's another chap called Ian McGregor who's not here today. We were walking along the old historic canal route, and we bumped into people walking their dog coming the other way. And they were boaters. And we said, oh, this is the old canal here. And they said, oh, is it? What canal's this one then? And they didn't even know. And they had a canal boat further up north, and they were living in the marina. So people just don't know. So we must really push it. We must really push the benefits. And that's when it comes back, just go back to the statutory consultation game. It comes out on the 28th. Please do read it. But you must respond by the 13th of January. It's a fairly tight time scale for everybody to write in and say, we want that canal to be rebuilt. So it's probably easier within the, call it the DCO limits where the canal is, where the reservoir is, that CESRO are going to have to move the canal, they're going to have to line it, they're going to probably have to put bridges over it for the main access roads and everything else. So it's just pushing harder there to make sure we build the locks and we have a complete canal. The other bit, the last bit is from the A34 to the River Thames, is not for them to do, but they're suggesting in the last document, Gate 3 document, which came out in August, that if the canal is extended to the Thames, it will bring more boats in it, bring more people in it, bring more wealth in, and it will push those benefits up. They're not saying they're going to do it, but again, we want to push that emphasis that we want that bit of the canal as well. And for good reason, it helps increase the benefits. So that's about it, really. There you are, give me a little break.
Thank you, Gary. Really interesting, and I think we should recognise that the hard work that Peter, Val and Nigel and Richard put over the years, and it's just incredible, the sort of patience in order to keep this going until the point where the actual DCO will make a decision one way or not. Very important. So, just talk about our aspirations for last year. So last year I basically said we need some priority programmes, we've done those, set up the teams which are now running, and obviously trying to bring councillors into that, I've mentioned, is important. And getting the ongoing negotiation with Thames Water and the EA when it comes to this specific one, also with councils in general, is very, very important. So our hope over the next 5 years are these main items: to try and win a major grant funding bid. So as we know from Stroud Water, they have been able to achieve many millions. I think the total amount that they've been able to raise is 20 million over the last few years. If you look at the news around Stroud Water, it's a combination of the council there being very supportive, the volunteer organisations being able to apply pressure to highways to do some of their work. In total, that number is a very important number, because that's the sort of numbers we need to start being able to generate. And using their case study, we know it can be done. So that's the basis of our confidence that we can move forward. We have to do that in stages. So the National Lottery is a very big organisation that handles public money. They have to make sure that we are secure financially, we have strong processes, we have good IT systems. They have to know that before they're going to hand over money. So that's all part of the process in order to get funding. And I've heard stories about charities who start small, so they might put in 100 grand, and then they might put in another bid for 200, and then they might put in another bid for $500,000. You have to build up your application size in order you create a relationship and a partnership working environment with the National Lottery and with the councils, because they need to see that we are successful. If they hand us over X amount of money, do we spend it wisely, and are we able to achieve what we said we would achieve? So they're interested in that information, and we have to build up that relationship. So it's a long journey, but we hope to get to through some of that journey over the next 5 years. Finally, receipt the planning go ahead for the Melksham Link, we've already talked about. Agree a partnership and a way forward for Wantage to Thames section with Thames Water as part of CESRO, so that's a really important part of it. So how do we do that? Which bits will CESRO and Thames Water fund? Which bits won't they fund? Will they put the locks in? Won't put the locks in? Will they go under the A34? Won't they go under the A34? All those sorts of questions are all decided by a Minister of State, which means that we have to get to our MPs, to our councils, in order to make sure that Thames will support us as much as possible and get the community benefit that Gavin has talked about. Knowing how we get under the A34 and under the M4 technically is going to be very important. And lastly, which is something that we have really focused on, which is growing our trust, our capability and the support around us, so the communities, the comms, our Facebook followers, to deliver those things. And without the strength within the trust, we're not going to get very far, because we have to have the skills and the leadership to be able to talk to the councils and negotiate and draw up plans. So those are, in principle, the things we're trying to do over the next 5 years. And as I say, it's a tough job. We all know it's a tough job. We have to start somewhere. So with the trustees, directors and SLT, we've been able to put that plan together. We hope it's going to be some of those things. Okay, so we talked about safety today, we talked about leadership and organisation, engaging with our community, and our 4 main programmes, the vision and the plan. That's it in terms of the bit I'm going to talk about, and my colleagues. Any questions? Oh, that's good. Okay, Steve.
Last year we lost one of the major funders on the canal, and I know that was a bit of an issue. Are there ways going around where you're looking at different revenue streams now to kind of negate that loss? Or?
Thank you for your question. So Steve's question was the Underwood Trust that used to back us quite strongly each year and done for many, many years. Robin Clark, thank you. Robin Clark, very sadly passed away, and their trust, the Emerald Trust, went in a slightly different direction. Yes is the answer. We have started to really diversify our funders, the number of funders. We brought in-house the funding team, firstly under Ali and then under Ian. We've developed a new system which allows us to track all the funders, and we've put in a much more robust system to be able to gather the data about that particular project. We call it a case for support, which is a charity type of term. It allows us to try and estimate the benefits of that particular project from a community perspective or from an environmental perspective, and then to be able to put down a plan which is enough for a funder to be able to get his head around. Because funders see many thousands. You can try and, it's all about how you talk to funders, whether you've got a relationship with them. So under the team, we now have sort of 4 active members in our internal funding team. So that has helped reduce our cost as well as do more funding work. So that was something we did started a year ago. That has worked really, really well. As you'll see from Brian, the core funding, our unrestricted funding, has continued to stabilise and grow. So we have been able to cover that donation we used to have, and so that's looking much better, increasing capability.
Have you also looked at sort of other ways within the trust, like looking at what other trusts are doing? The Cotswold Canal Trust, they have 2 bookshops, and they make over £100,000 each per year per bookshop. Now, on the line of Dark Canal, you could have Melksham, Chippenham, Swindon, Wantage and Abingdon. That's 5 shops. If you get anywhere near, you're talking £500,000 of income.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and no, I hadn't heard that particular example, but that's really, really important, so thank you very much. We have talked to a number of organisations just to find out how they do it, and also we've been studying the social media funding crowdfunding elements as well. We put through a number of match funding things via Chloe as well, which has worked really well. But initiatives like that are really useful to hear about. We realise we're a bit on the starting blocks with many of these things, so we have got some way to catch up. But we do realise that Cotswold Canal Trust are ahead of us, and we've got a lot of very good ideas that we need to try and see and think about. Excellent.
Just to carry on from there, you mentioned Stroudwater.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, I attended an event on Stroudwater, which was a big event, and boats were brought in and so forth, and there were locals with tears in their eyes saying they'd never thought they'd see boats on the canal again in their lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely, and I think it does give us all that sort of emotion really when we see boats on the canal which is being restored. So I'm completely with that. I think we're trying to focus a little bit on the celebration in 2027 coming up to try and get something together for that. Hence we need a team to try and organise those things, and we need to try and make sure that we've got some location to get boats in and out. But for sure we felt that. We also have tried to make sure that where there's an issue with a river where we often put boats in, say Chippenham or Melksham, that we're not disturbed from doing that. And Chippenham have decided they're going to, I think it's remove the weir now, that's been agreed, or it's in outline planning at the moment. That's going to obviously reduce the water level of the river there. That will stop that sort of thing happening. So we're going to also try and protect to make sure that's possible as well, actually organising an event. But yeah, it's a great subject. Thank you.
I'm going to stand briefly just so you can see who I am here, but I'm going to sit down because I've got notes. How am I supposed to follow all of that? Heaven alone knows. I thought you'd like that one. If you did the walk today from Dauntsey Lock through to East Challow, that is a picture of Stockham Bridge in between Hunters Bridge, and I really love that. And what I really love is the couple up there pushing a pram along the ice. Risk assessment, anyone? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that is a fantastic. I love that photo.
Gary, what's the chance you could animate this?
So slowly sinking below the ice. Anyway, what was I going to say? Start off with, I'm not going to keep on this too long. Good time. Many of you, along with me, have been a member of this august institution since it even became the present format of this august institution, the Media Group, probably about 30 years ago. And we've seen our ups and downs, but I have to say, generally, I'm quite excited about where we're going to for the next 5 years. So thanks to Mike and the senior leadership team on that one. What would we say? So the last 10 years or so, I've been a trustee. I've been a trustee, I have been vice chairman, I have been chairman, I've been chairman and treasurer, I've been treasurer. And last year, you may remember, I said it's about time I finished. So for me, to be honest, I've had a quite challenging spring and summer, and I'm looking forward to stepping down as treasurer after a handover. And so with that, I may want to say a few thanks as well. So when I was thinking about the accounts today, I mean, here we are on paper accounts, but what do they actually mean? Nuts and bolts of it is money in and money out. The money out is going on restoration, it's going on general expenses. The money in, where's it created from? Well, yourselves. And I was brought home to me last weekend when I went for a wander down Melksham. I thought it was the last open day of the year. I thought, let's drive 40 miles and go for a walk, take the dog for a swim. And I was standing there, at the lovely supporter cabin with the volunteers there issuing the tea, coffee and cake. And this is what it's all about. We all in our way contribute into this fund. So my first thanks is to all the volunteers. You know who you are, all of us who contribute by way of the boat team, the shop, the branches, the fundraisers, those who do walks and talks, even the meagre amount I produce from the Lost Pubs and Wantage walks. So thanks for all of this. My thanks also need to go to the finance team. We have an absolutely fantastic finance team. We have Chris at the end here, our finance director. We have Jonathan, we have Viv, we have Nancy, we have Steve Roberts, all together do an absolutely fantastic job of keeping our finances in track. And I have to say, without them, lots of things would not happen, and we would not have as good a financial situation as we do now. Martin spoke about stability, and that's kind of my theme for this AGM, and I'm going to keep it fairly short. Martin, we're trying to move on to we have already. Okay, now what I will say is, caveat, there is a slight difference between the figures as shown in the booklet and these. These are taken from the final audited accounts from the accountant. There is a subtle difference to them. So, total income 3467 against last year 301. Expenditure 249 against last year 262. Net income 97 as it goes to 40. Stable income, we've got money coming in. What I also want to say about this is we are, a stable focus. We know what our liabilities are. We've got through that period. We now know how much we have to pay for the court fine. First instalment was paid earlier part of this year. We are paying by standing order and dribbling our way through it the HSE fine. So we know what we're doing. We've reduced some other costs as well, and that puts us in a much better financial situation. And that is covered, but also on the other side are the liabilities. So on the liability side, which is the next slide, I just wanted to point out one thing on the liabilities, which is the creditors falling due after more than 1 year. And you might say, well, hang on a second, it's gone from 82.5 up to 172. And I just want to point out that includes an allowance for the HSE fines, hence why the rest of 18.5 is represented by the outstanding Peterborough Arms loans due for payment in 2034 at the latest. So hence why that figure has gone up. So we have a strong balance sheet. We have a strong balance sheet made up of our fixed assets, whether it be fixtures and fittings, our freehold properties, and we have a reasonably strong income. We are not resting on our laurels. We are always looking at what we're doing. But going forward now, it's chance for a new treasurer and the finance team to gear ourselves up for the increased activity we need to do for the 5-year plan. And that calls for a fresh approach and a fresh look at all our processes to make sure that we can cope with bigger funds and with bigger numbers of transactions. And that's something we will be concentrating on going forward. Time-wise, okay? I think that was it. That was my time. I want to say stable footing, nuts and bolts, done that. Thanks to all of you, and especially thanks to Martin. If anyone's got any questions, if there's specific questions like what is this made up of, then ask me later and I will go through the actual accounts with you. If there's general questions, then obviously between us we're happy to answer.
Any questions for Brian?
I'll go and try to put Hello.
Hello, Brian. What was the difference between this? Because I think it's only about
a tweak in a few figures, like the total income figure is changed by £1. And there's also, but also, to be honest, there's also a breakdown that the accountants plucked out and changed the figure, the donation figure. They changed out one tranche of income, so there's a separate line at 14k. Don't ask me what that 14k is, because I did know and I've forgotten it as of now. But so it's slight tweaks. The general figures only changed by a few pounds, but it's there.
All right. Thank you. And I'd like to echo very sincere thanks to Brian for many, many years, sterling years of service, as you stand down as trustee treasurer, but remain as valued trustee. Brian, thank you very much indeed. So now we have a number. We can whack through a number of points. Where have we got to? Point 4. We've done 1, 2, 3. Crikey, just take all that long time. Point 4. Resolution to approve the trustees' report for year end 31 March to 2025. The trustees' report is in the AGM papers, plus what we've communicated, if you like, state of the nation. May I ask somebody to propose the acceptance?
That's David Lynch.
David Lynch. And second, Nigel Leake. May we have a show of hands? Approved. Thank you. Resolution to approve the Trust's accounts.
Well, I'd better propose that, hadn't I?
I think you had. Your head is on the chopping block, yes. But I also wasn't worried about the £1 moving here, there, or £60 moving there. So Brian proposed.
Second it here. Yeah.
Peter Scatchard, thank you. Show of hands, if we may. Thank you, Karen.
Any against?
Resolution to approve the re-election of retiring trustees on rotation, which is Steve Bacon and myself. If you wish to throw either of us out, then now is your opportunity.
Now they're out of the room, safely, you can say what you like. Are you okay with the show of hands if we do both at the same time? Yeah. So all those in favour of re-election of both? Anybody against? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You may now return. You may now return. Mind the gap. I hate to say this, Martin, but you're re-elected.
Oh, rat. Thank you very much indeed.
My congratulations.
Your trust will be something or other. Resolution to appoint Verna Smith as our IWA representative to Trust Council. Verna has been a little bit out of the picture recently. She is an astonishing fount of knowledge. Whenever Verna speaks in a trustees meeting or outside, I just shut up and listen, because it's always valuable. My recommendation is we do. May I ask for a proposal? for a proposer. Brian Sharp, and a seconder. John Henn. Thank you. And show of hands. Any against? Thank you. And to approve reappointment of Maurice Owen as the Trust's accountants. Proposer. Brian.
I'll propose that because I think it's fair.
Brian Stovald.
Yes, that's me.
And second.
Robin.
Robin Dare. Thank you. And show of hands, please. Any against? You are a compliant lot.
They all want their tea.
Super. So, really now is an opportunity completely open. Any questions, welcome, of almost any sort.
Almost any sort.
Nigel, the engineer in the East Vale. One for the trustees to start with. We've got 2 properties to purchase in the future to get the canal through. Maybe even a third one for a cafe that Mike's been asking me about. Potentially 450,000 each. If they come up on the market, how are we going to fund them? And there's somebody that does the case for supports, and we stick 10% on there for, can't remember what it's for, say the Trust back office. Should we be allocating an element of that 10% from when we raise money through projects, sticking it to one side for these properties?
For land.
For land, include land and leases, etc. But these 3 particular houses, and that's only in this in the Vale, so I don't know what the other 4 branches have.
All right, Nigel, thank you. I'm going to deflect it because as trustees, if you like, our key focus is ensuring that the charity is well and correctly run, and it's the running of the charity is over to Mike.
Good thing I'm not elected. Thank you. Good question, Nigel. So, I think the answer is yes, we would try and do something about it. Obviously, we don't have the funds ourselves to be able to do it, but we would probably go for it. Yeah, I think that probably is the case, particularly if it's in one of the priority areas. We would need to try and do something about it. You're going to tell me next that one's just come on with the market on Nigel.
I can tell you when they last came on the market, and the probability.
Do you own one of these? So, yes, is the answer. We do have a designated fund. So the second part of the question, which is how would we deal with the 10%, which goes from projects into core. We do have that as a policy. That's a written policy. So when we win money for a project, then 10% of that goes to core, because quite a lot of project activities are actually funded by our core budgets. Admin and IT and insurance and lots of things like that. So that's how we deal with it as a matter of policy, and that's fairly standard for charities to do that. So we would, under those circumstances, have quite a large surplus of money if we did that. It's a trustee decision how you deal with that surplus, and in charity law, or as you probably all know, there's what's called a designated fund. And we have quite a lot of designated funds, and they are ones where trustees have made the decision to divert some of their income into a ring-fenced budget. So we would set up a designated fund, which the land bank is. We do have money in the land fund, and due to donations, that will be increasing. But we would do that probably trustee decision, but that's likely that we'll do.
Thank you.
Can I just add on to that? In fact, to be one stage more specific, we do have a land fund for land purchase and leases, not a designated, but it's a more controlled, a restricted fund, into which very recently has gone an extremely generous donation of £12,000. So that fund is now live for land purchase and leases. If you like, it's a statement of intent. And the donor specifically said that they would like that to go towards land purchases. So that's, if you like, that.
Yeah, the land will be the house that it sits on. So
Yeah.
My second one on our strategic project, and thank you to Gavin for your compliment. With the DCO, for those that don't know, the process is under the Planning Act 2008, which is different to the Town and Country Act, which the Vale deal with for houses and the like. So the Planning Act is nationally significant infrastructure projects, so the promoter here is following that process. When he submits his application to the planning inspector, my guess it could be 30 or 40, 50 documents, 3,000 or 4,000 pages. The planning inspector's team will then have 18 months to review and make a recommendation to the Secretary of State. And I think it's actually 2029, beginning of 29, when that decision could be made. It could get deferred, because I think Thames are hoping to start construction in 2030. Our stance has been to look at the canal either side of the reservoir. So where Gavin talked about linking it up to the Thames, yes, we would like Thames to deliver it, and I would suggest that when the statutory consultation comes out, we'll see what they're promoting at the moment, and that will direct our responses to push for the connection to the Thames. The advantages that I can see if it goes through the DCO is that will give compulsory land purchase, which makes it a lot easier for them to get the land than if we end up funding it and having to get landowners to agree to lease with us. So that's something that we need to consider. And the second bit, from the GWR up to Wantage, we've been telling Thames Road that we'll play the part, we'll promote it, and we're actually starting at the end of November with an 80 strong waterways recovery group working on Grove Common. So we're starting that restoration next month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Interesting point that the CESRO with DCO approval, it would be easier then to purchase land through that.
Yeah.
Only need a few £1 million.
Yeah, was a question.
No, I think it was
do you want something
observation.
It's an observation.
Yeah.
What I would say is for any land that they include within their DCO, they've got to be very substantive, because the planning inspector say, why do you want it?
Correct.
Yeah.
So they've got to have a clear focus on why they're including it.
Correct.
For those that don't know, I've got a highway background and been through 3 DCO consultations, so I've sort of come across those things.
And we might make the observation that they're being too focused and not generous enough in our direction. Questions? Any other questions? Peter?
Martin, can I make the point that when the consultation, when we are invited to comment between the end of this month and the 13th of January, I think it would be a very good idea if we actually had our response on our website that we could direct all our members to say this is the situation. Be a situation report, there would be a sample response, etc., that people can access. I would not suggest that they download it and simply send it off as their response, but it would provide them with the key points that they need to address. The facts are all there in one place, and people can go in there, pull it all off, make their own response, and hopefully that can improve the effectiveness of our response to the consultation process coming up.
Thank you, David. Any observations on that?
Yes.
Nigel?
I read within.
Yeah, from the non-statutory consultation in 2024, I read the report, and they, when it was all analysed by specialists, they actually identified those responses that were steered in a particular direction. They could tell when people were advised to say certain things.
Yes. Yes.
So I think we need to be a bit careful.
We need to be aware of that.
Yeah, we need to be aware of it, and we need to be careful on what we say.
We will definitely provide the clear arguments, not necessarily the copy and paste text, clear arguments to put out. Other questions?
I agree wholeheartedly.
If you could just give your name.
Yeah, surely, Martin Savage.
Thank you.
I agree wholeheartedly with the idea of providing that information, which is what many organisations do. We're members of various things, the Wiltshire Wildlife Trust, Greenpeace, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But then it's imperative to ensure that people use their own language. Do not use your terminology cut and paste. Use it as the basis of what your argument is going to be. That cuts far more mustard than anything else. That's it.
Thank you.
Right, John Henn. I try not to stir, but I've just walked from Stockham and Elm Farm sections, and having seen that about 10 years ago, I was very disappointed about what it looked like. Sure, some of the things, surely we need to get that looking good before we go to Cesaro. Because it's dry, I mean, this year it's dried out an awful lot, there's no water.
Right, apropos of all of that, I'm playing devil's advocate at this stage, and for the sake of the AGM, I think we've strayed into open forum rather than AGM. So I'm going to be a complete pedantic on this and say there are some business that is, strictly speaking, any other business for the AGM that should have been notified to us before the AGM. And I don't disagree with any of the questions we're getting, but as a pedant at this stage, I think what we should do is we should bring the AGM to a close and cover questions like John's and whatever as part of the open forum, where we can then note it and take it seriously.
As we were going to do anyway.
Excellent, says the ex-chair, former chair. Thank you very much, Brian. So, is there any other formal business for the AGM? Excellent, in which case I declare the AGM closed. Thank you very much indeed for coming.